Okay, a wee bit of a disclaimer here. If you're one of those people who do not like frustrating starts to videos, then look away now, because this turned out to be quite a frustrating start to the day, but I did manage to bag something. As you can see, the field of barley that I was watching over has now been cut, and the farmer only finished baling it this morning. So I came down with my gear hoping to get a nice day's decoying. I have my hide and camera already set up, and please excuse me for the grass in front of the lens, I didn't realise that till afterwards. But the hide I'm using is the 2-man or double bush chair hide from Bushwear.com, and I have it set up on a hard gravel path into the back of the hedge. It's somewhere where a normal hide with hide poles wouldn't work, because the ground was that hard on the stony path you wouldn't have got poles pushed into it. Now, if a shotgunner is watching this and going, why didn't you bring a shotgun, I will hands up fully admit this day would have been brilliant for the shotgun with the breezy windy conditions, but it's a small field and I'm only about 50-60 yards from a bungalow, so I didn't want to bring a shotgun and test the neighbour's patience to firing shots fairly close to his property all day long, so their rifle it was. Now I'm using 10 full-bodied flocked wood pigeon decoys, which I've touched up with paint in the past, and I'm arranging them roughly pointing into the wind, which after my test with the grass you can see is strongly blowing from the right hand side. So I've set the decoys up to my extreme right, because birds like to land roughly into the wind and they like to land at the back of the decoy pattern, which is smack dead in front of my hide, so that is my kill zone at about 20 to 30 yards. Well, that's the theory anyway. The rifle I have with me today is my John Bowkett blueprinted BSA Superten in .22 caliber, running at about 15 foot-pounds of energy with JSB 15.9 grain exacts. The scope is a Nikko Stirling 4-16x44 Targetmaster with an LRX reticle and a Virax silencer. Now, when I drove into the field, there was a lot of crows, jackdaws and rooks, all feeding right where I have set up here. So it wasn't too long before I started getting some activity from them. There was also 20 or 30 wood pigeons, but for some reason they never really came back again. I don't really know why. There is a lot of beech mast and acorns about the country, so maybe they moved on to that instead of coming back to the field. The jackdaws and rooks were decoying into the pattern lovely. The problem I had was they wouldn't sit long enough for me to get zoomed in with the camera before the shot. Which, as you can imagine, was proving quite frustrating. It was lovely to watch the birds float across the sky into the wind and come down into the pattern. This is where a shotgun probably would have given a really good day's sport. But I didn't have a shotgun with me, I had an air rifle. The birds started to settle down into the field and feed 100 yards or more away at the bottom end of the field, but I hoped since they were undisturbed I'd still get the odd one or two coming into my pattern. My first real opportunity was this magpie, which snuck quietly in from the left hand side, but he kept walking about, ducking and diving and moving, making it a really hard target. And when I finally did take the shot, yep, I missed. And he wasn't hanging around for a second opportunity either. Sometime later, a second magpie landed. Now I couldn't tell you whether it was the same bird or not, but this one wasn't moving around as much and gave me a much easier shot. I allowed half an inch to the right for the wind, squeezed the shot off, and down went Mr. Magpie. He flapped a wee bit, but lay still, and that was the end of it. I had already worked out how much wind to allow for by shooting at a stick I'd pushed into the field at 30 yards just as it got into the hide. But to be honest, I think it was a bit of a fluky shot, because when I walked out to pick the bird up, instead of being 30 yards, it turned out to be almost 40 yards. At that rate the pellet should have struck low and missed, but I still got a clean kill, so I can't argue with that. The wind's really picking up now. These two birds floated into the pattern just lovely and started to feed straight away, but they're a wee bit to my right, and since I'm right-handed I needed to shift myself around in the hide to be able to get a bead on them. But they heard the movement and they were away. I soon realised if I wanted to get anything today, I was going to have to forget about trying to zoom in with the camera and just take the shot as quick as I could. So when this rook landed, that's just what I did. The first shot sounded good, but he was still standing, so I reloaded for a second shot, and down he went. I'm going for heart and lung shots in these birds, as it's far too windy today to try and take head and neck shots. And I'm setting the birds out as decoys as soon as I shoot them, to try and make the decoy pattern a wee bit more attractive. And it looks like it seems to be working. That's another jackdaw in the bag. Can I make it a double? Nope, just not quick enough. Finally, some wood pigeons, and they're coming in hot. But they seem to be having trouble with this headwind, and don't seem to land, but fly over and land in a nearby tree. But thankfully they don't stay there for long and circle round back into the back of the pattern again. Only to do the same thing over again, overshoot the pattern, but thankfully still land about 25 yards to my right. Again, being right-handed, I have to reposition myself in the hide a wee bit to get the shot. And take the left-hand bird with a heart and lung shot. He flutters around a bit, but he's done and down. Now, when I went over to pick up the pigeon and set it up in the decoy pattern, I also found a jackdaw lying dead. Now, I had taken a shot at this bird earlier on. The bird had reacted to the shot but didn't fly off. So I quickly reloaded the rifle for a second shot, only to accidentally double load the rifle. So when I took the shot, the pellet flew wild, dug into the dirt in front of him. The bird seemed to get onto his wings and fly off, so I thought I must have only stunned him. But he must have dropped dead to the right hand side, roughly where the two pigeons had landed. So I was quite chuffed when I walked over to pick up one bird, only to find two. Now I don't know where the video footage went, either I accidentally deleted it in editing or I forgot to press record, but you'll just have to take my word for it. Another wood pigeon, and this time he lands perfectly in the decoy pattern, so no shuffling about and the hide needed. A nice 20-yard shot, allowed a wee bit for the wind, and got good contact. But imagine my surprise when I looked out and saw him still standing there. Yep, it is the same bird. So I took a quick second shot, and again he's still on his feet, but gone. Oh, one tough wood pigeon. And I did do an autopsy afterwards when I was breasting him, and he was hit twice in the upper chest. Well, the day's getting on, and the birds seem to have lost all interest in the decoys, so I decided to call it quits. Well, it certainly wasn't as good a day as I was hoping for, especially after seeing 20 or 30 pigeons in the field as I drove in to set up the hide. But I actually get 6 out of the day when, after the first couple of hours, I thought I was going to get nothing. I suppose I have to be quite thankful for, even though I had to double tap a few birds just to make sure. So at the end of the day it was quite a mixed bag. Of course the 2 pigeons will go to the freezer, and the rest of the birds I'm sure the farmer will be glad to see the back of, for when he replants this again with barley for next year, they won't be causing him any more problems.